assault and batteries, but my trunk stay ever ready. Assault and battery, if you scared, you never ready.
Alright, Redemption Tour 2020, we are rolling fast and furious. 2 weeks, 2 videos. This one is going to be a video pretty much the opposite of what I did my last video on, which was my favorite signed classic superstars. And this video idea actually came from a subscriber named Mr. Ring999, who recommended and suggested and commented to pretty much do the opposite. My top 5 figure mistakes. And I was surprised. I'm like, wow, there's actually 5 figures I have that, you know, there's a great story behind them where I kind of botched the whole signature or botched the whole thing in general. So I'll be talking about that. And I guess I can make them in order. I kind of have like my worst story to like my favorite story. First is Ken Shamrock. And as you can see from the signature, it's very like, you can tell there's like 2 colors on there. There's a red one and a silver. And this happened during WrestleMania 31. And this is kind of where I got into the whole, I should try signing in different colors. There's, you know, you see people bring their paint pens and it's like, you know, this guy's wearing like red tights. So I'm like, oh, maybe it would look cool in red. So he signs it and we're both looking at it and we are like, and he kind of looked at it with that look of disgust and I looked at it the same way. And he's like, oh, that didn't really turn out the way I expected it, huh? I'm like, I know. So instead of getting, what is it? Some like alcohol wipes or whatever, he just like, do you want me to go over it in silver? I don't care, go ahead. So now you have like a very Canadian flag looking Ken Shamrock classic superstars. So he was definitely one of the very, very nice. I remember he was jacked too. Holy, Ken Shamrock looking better than ever. But the signature, definitely a funny story on the wall, and not too many people actually noticed this. I don't even think I mentioned it in the Merch Mania video. And that kind of relates to the second one as well. I actually met Bobby Heenan before I met Ken Shamrock, and I asked him, this is me asking him again, and if you guys have met Bobby Heenan before he passed away, you knew he wasn't in the best shape. It was very hard for him to, actually it was impossible for him to have a conversation. He was on the wheelchair, his wife was there, and again, I don't know why, but I was like, can you sign it in red? And he did, and you can't see it at all at this point. You can tell the difference between the figure two. Clearly one has clothes on and one doesn't. So I was thinking it would turn out better here than it did here, but turned out both terribly. So I don't even know what to say. I just looked at it. I'm like, you know what? This isn't even worth like arguing about it. I'm like, I'm an idiot. I'm literally an idiot. This figure was from the Chicago trip. Was it Chicago or what was it? So Dean Malenko just got released from WWE. He went to AEW. He was there and I'm like, nice. Like I've been wanting to meet Dean Malenko for so long. Getting this figure was a hassle and a half. I remember I ordered it from eBay and it was like 2 to 3 weeks, or at least 2 weeks to ship because it was during the long weekend. Mike shipped it to his house and he messaged the guy. He's like, I need it by this day because this is going on. The guy said, okay. And it was like literally the day I got there was the day this figure came in the mail. I didn't know Dean Malenko had Parkinson's disease, and he was shaking when he signed it. And then his ink, his pen he had, he was the first guy signed it, and he was like, oh, this isn't working. He threw the first one out. Second one wasn't working. He threw that one out. Third one was like barely working, and he just started using that one. So I go up there. I'm all like, oh, hello, Dean. How are you? Blah blah blah. And then he signs it, and then and I'm looking at it, and I was just like, as soon as he passed it back to me, I was just like, I went through so much trouble to get the action figure, and then this is what I was like, a half-ass signature with a half-ass marker. Like, I gotta tilt it in the light for you to see the actual signature. My God, terrible. And like I said, I know, you know, partially it's not his fault, but just terrible luck. And then I showed everyone, and they just couldn't stop laughing. So I'm like, of course it's my luck that would happen. Number 4, ironically, it's the man on my shirt, Iron Sheik. This is me and Legend Killer started doing the whole WrestleCon and just meeting wrestlers here and there, getting the classic superstar signed. And Iron Sheik was at this was like in 2009 or 2010. I put this figure in front of him and he starts speaking his language to me. It's like Arabic, whatever it is. And I told him like, oh, I'm actually I'm not from Iran, I'm from India, whatever. So he's like, oh, okay, brother, blah, blah, blah. He's like, what's your name anyway? And I was like, Ravi. And he's like, how do you spell that? I'm like, R-A-V-I. And I'm thinking like, why the hell is this man asking for my name? And then he starts writing it on this to Ravi. I'm like, no. So it was like, it was already done. And I'm like, and I'm watching him as soon as he put the 2 in the dash, I was like, oh. And at this point, it was too late for me to even like stop. So, and he signed it sideways as well on top of that. So it's like 2 Ravi Iron Sheik. And I'm like, why? This is the only personalized figure I have. And last, definitely not least, this, again, this is from the same day I met the Iron Sheik. So again, very new to this whole figure thing, getting things signed. And I had this 2-pack, and I still, to this day, have not met the $1 Million Man for him to sign this, to finish it off. Met Virgil, obviously, you know, I think it's just any wrestling fan has to meet him just for the LOL. And he signs it, we're all cool, I'm like, yeah, whatever, cool, you're whatever, it's Virgil. So he probably knew from a mile away that I was like a geek or like a big mark. He signs the front, 20 bucks. He's like, oh, do you want me to sign the back also? And I'm like, weird question to ask, but sure, why not? So he goes ahead and signs it on the back, right here. So then I got this, and then he wanted to sell me like an 8x10. He's like, oh look, like I got this 8x10 of like me and the Giant or whatever, Andre the Giant. He's like, oh, you like take it as rare or whatever. I'm like, no, it's okay, I just want the figure. And then he's like, okay, so it's gonna be like 30 bucks. And I'm like, what do you mean? It says autograph 20. He's like, oh, but I signed the back as well. I'm like, what? I was like, you didn't tell me that it would be another 10 bucks for you to sign the back, and it's fucking thumbtacked on my wall too, so you can't even see it. At that point, he's like, oh, you know, it's business, man. He starts like going off on this like brother talk, and I'm like, okay. So again, one of those things. I got hustled by Virgil. This is why this man is one of the greatest con artists in the entire world of wrestling, because he conned $10 out of me. Screw you. Screw Virgil. So that's number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. That's it. That's my biggest figure mistakes. If you haven't watched the last one, highly check it out. My favorite signed classic superstars. Maybe I should put these down. And I'll see you guys in the next video.